Welcome to Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. I'm Kevin Parkerson.
And I'm Kevin Higgins. Together we bring you over 60 years in combined experience in global logistics.
In each episode, we'll dive into the latest industry trends, share practical tips, celebrate wins, and share stories from the logistics front lines, all while helping businesses optimize their logistics operations. Welcome to Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. We've got a great guest here in Long Beach, Mr. Bertrand Chen. Welcome, Bertrand. Give the audience a little bit of who you are and why you're here at TPM.
Thank you, Kevin, for giving me the opportunity to have this nice chat. So my name is Bertrand Chen. I'm the CEO of GSBN. GSBN stands for Global Shipping Business Network. We are a blockchain consortium to try to digitize the shipping industry. Our founding members are shipping line, terminal operator. And the idea is to use blockchain technology to try to digitize some key documents. I'll be around for 4 years now, incorporated in Hong Kong. So my background is actually had nothing to do with shipping when I first started. Actually, I was in finance. So I was a trader on Wall Street for 10 years. So first 4 years in New York, trading CDOs. So if you watch the movie The Big Short, that's stuff I was doing. Just up to 2008. So once in the movie where they're in Las Vegas, that's actually one conference I went to. I think it's called American Securitization Finance Conference, ASF. That was the last one. After the blow up, there's no more, I think. Anyway, so then moved to Hong Kong, and then I was a trader in equity derivatives for Merrill Lynch, like America. And then eventually ended up switching to data science because the stuff I was doing was like prop trading that's forbidden under the Walker Rule Dodd-Frank Act, and a company called CK Hutchison Holding, which is today kind of the name's ringing a bell. Yes. So at CK Hutchison Holding, I was looking at can we set up new business with data, and one project that came up was actually the project where Hutchison Port was working with other terminal operators and shipping line on this blockchain project that became GSBN. So that's how one thing led to Wall Street to blockchain shipping industry.
Okay. So we'll get into a lot more of that because that's really interesting, the dynamics of what's happening in the industry today. But we're here in Long Beach, TPM 25. What's your experience at TPM 25? First of all, how many TPMs have you been?
So this is my second TPM. I have to say I think I spent better than the first TPM.
Okay.
The first TPM I was so tired. I did so many meetings. I way over-exerted myself and also had no idea what I was talking about.
But a great networking opportunity.
Absolutely.
So you would recommend anyone new to the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a conference not only for experienced people, but also for newbies, because actually it's very easy to meet people, to have conversation. And I think people in general are quite friendly to share also and very patient to be on newbies. So I would say 2023 when I first came, I asked a lot of dumb questions. People were very patient with me. This year, I think I'll try to be patient. People ask me dumb questions. If I have more experience, hopefully the next year I come, I'll be the more experience. But no, so far I think it's really great event.
How many business cards did you bring first year? How many did you bring this year?
I don't remember. I think I have a stack like this in my suitcase.
But it's a great conference for that network.
Absolutely. I think that the thing that probably the first one I didn't do as well is I didn't follow up as well. Meaning you meet a lot of people with your business card and you're like, when you go back, it's like, who's this person I met? What do they do? It's like, kind of forget. And I think this year was different is I'm trying to be more targeted. So I don't want to just randomly meet someone and talk. Usually when I meet someone, I have something in mind because I know a bit more about the business. As opposed to person, we're just like more to learn and talk to anyone we're willing to talk to. And also this year was on the panel with Eric Johnson, Thomas Bagger, CEO of DCSA, and also Elizabeth Shepard from MSC. Talking about eBL adoption. That also was quite interesting.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Share your experience with that. Share with the audience the format and how you were prepared for that and what you got out of that.
Sure. So first off, this is probably the only panel that wasn't about AI. So I was very happy that people still show up.
So it was well attended?
Yeah, it was. Good. It was very surprising also because 2023, I did also panel with Eric Johnson about the electronic bill of lading as well. And for whatever reason, I think nobody stayed because the session before was, I forgot who was speaking, but it was about labor strike. And everybody was there asking questions. Once we came in and everybody left. So, but this time I think there's a lot more people. Also, I think because the setup, it's a second floor, right? The TPM tech, people go in the room, you want to be in the room. because you don't have random people just there to basically enjoy the actually no, you have HCA everywhere, but just sit there, you don't know what they're doing. People are here, they want to hear about eBLs. Exactly. And that's actually really interesting.
Yeah. So I think like people are finally getting their heads wrapped around the electronic, the EBL. So how to do that. So there's been people try to do that in the past, and they talk. So before AI was like the buzzword, blockchain was the buzzword.
Yes.
So how does your experience in finance translate over into helping solve this issue in logistics?
Sure. Actually, as GSBN was formed, there's another famous platform that actually didn't work out, TradeLens, that was started earlier with Maersk and IBM. So actually, when I was involved at the setup of GSBN, also observing what IBM and Maersk were doing. And I think the biggest difference between GSBN and what became TradeLens is that GSBN set up as a not-for-profit. And TradeLens set up as a for-profit. And the reason I think it's a key difference is a lot of people had a perception that, forget about the blockchain for a moment, is the TradeLens project is to try to get data from everyone and to make money from the data, which raised the question, how much is my data worth? And the answer is your data is not worth that much by itself. If you put in context, it could be worth some money. But as long as you're thinking about monetization of data, it's very hard to build a business of collaboration, right? And I think ultimately that's the reason that TradeLens couldn't really succeed, because people always had a sort of afterthoughts. If I give you my data, what are you going to do with it? So we actually use blockchain for a very thin layer just to make sure the data cannot be tampered with. And also data is encrypted before you reach the platform. So not only we cannot monetize it, we don't have the means to do it because everything's encrypted. So that is the differentiating factor. And the only thing we do really is very simple, is we enable people to share data transparently. And also it's on blockchain, means cannot be changed. And we also add something else which is important, which is access control at field level. Because some information, you don't want everyone to see it. Because this industry, the reason it exists sometimes for intermediary is that they don't want everyone to see the same thing. So that is ultimately how we solve this conundrum of getting people on board. But these days, I would say blockchain as a component is, yes, it has value, but the real reason people come to us is more the network, the people involved, and the product that we work on. So blockchain is just an enabler. It's not nobody comes up because blockchain.
Right.
I feel be very, very careful with some of the shops. I want to do blockchain.
Right. Yeah, because people just, they'll walk away sometimes.
They do something crazy. I was like, wait, how does that involve blockchain and why can't we help you? I think the most important thing for us probably to learn to say no to things. I don't think that suits us. We can't help you on this.
Right.
And somebody else may be better to do this than us.
Yeah.
So Bertrand, who is your ultimate customer in this? Who are you talking to?
That's a very good question. It's an evolving
Has that changed in
of course,
4 years?
Of course. So when it first started, I would say the biggest sponsor are the shipping line and the terminal operator. They are all funding members. So you have Costco, OCL, Hapag-Lloyd. Then the terminal side, you have Parkerson Ports, you have PSA, so from Singapore, Shanghai Airport Group, CSP, QDP, so 8. And we have more members coming in, so shipping lines, so ONE and CMA CGM are members. But increasingly, the focus has been less on what carrier wants. So the main product that we're pushing today is the electronic bill of lading, so that's really driven by the carrier. But now it's also what does the banks want? What does a single window customs want? And the freight forwarders, the BCOs.
So multiple customers for everybody.
Nobody can serve everyone because they have very conflicting interests in what they want to do, right? So we are very careful on not trying to be too big too quickly.
Okay.
But as the use case starts to scale, you need to start thinking about how do I cater to the needs of this segment. So one example I can share with. So when we focus on EBL, for instance, one thing was, okay, so this is a carrier product. Right? The shipping line wants to do the EBL. But if you think of the customer who uses the EBL, a lot of time actually it's freight forwarders, right? So then the freight forwarders, okay, do I want the freight forwarder to use the EBL? They want to go click the solution. Actually, maybe it's easier for us to offer them a means to do that without leaving their system. So we announced actually a partnership. We did the pilot now is going in production with CargoWise and IQX EBL, which is EBL solution on top of GSBN. And the customer is the Well Group, which is a small, medium-sized freight forwarder. So what that means effectively is that if you are the Well, you are user of CargoWise. Within CargoWise, you can use the EBL solution without having to leave CargoWise. And from your experience, you don't know about blockchain, you don't know about GSBN. To some degree, you don't even have to know about IQX. You remain within CargoWise. And I think that's what we need to do to drive adoption.
So you may be a user of GSBN and not know it.
Yes.
And
that's fine.
It's okay.
Because we're not for profit. We sell the infrastructure. We don't really care if you know about us or not. Because at the end of the day, when you use the like today, if you use email, do you really know how the guts works? You just press a button, someone will receive an email.
Sure.
So you need to know. That's the same point.
So how does that business model get created? How did you?
That's a very, very good question. So that was, to me, at the beginning, my biggest contradiction, because my entire career has a P&L next to my name.
I was
Right.
like the finance guy.
Exactly.
How does the finance guy come up with
Positive and or negative, always a number next to my name, right? And that helps you drive and you know direction of what you want to do. So the not-for-profit is really counterintuitive. And I have to say it wasn't my idea. Just be very clear. If you were asking me to do it, I'll probably do another TradeLens.
I think most would.
Exactly. Because it's the most logical. Like you do this, you can raise money and say, look, we have so much transaction, we can monetize.
I think that's why they fail.
Exactly. So I don't have a good answer why GSBN set up a non-for-profit. All I can say maybe was originally the member that said we have to be different than TradeLens. Nobody was, it's not just on the TradeLens, let's be non-for-profit. But as I got involved in the project, you realize actually non-for-profit is a really good idea because it removes a lot of incentive problem of setting up a platform. Because you can always say we're non-for-profit, you can trust us. But if you say economically there's no reason for me to do anything dodgy, and I don't have the means technically even to do it, I can prove it because that's how we're built, that actually reassures a lot of people. Because otherwise there's always someone behind, hey, what if they're very successful? They're going to start to charge, right? Like increase the price. Because there's other network-based business which happened before in the past, right?
Right.
So
I think some of our audience would say electronic bill of lading.
Yeah.
We haven't been doing that. Why have we not been doing that? Surely we've been doing that for decades, right?
That's true, technically. So the first one was a company called Bolero. That's in 1998. So that was
Bolero, yeah.
Were you a user of Bolero?
I knew them.
You knew them?
Yeah.
Okay. So they were built on the guts of Swift, so kind of a messaging protocol.
Right.
That's how they designed. It's a centralized system, effectively. I think that for a couple of reasons didn't take off as much as it could. It had, I would say, a niche use case of what in the bulk space, where essentially what they did is they focused as a bank product for trade finance, for letter of credit. And then what they get is they get a couple of banks, the HSBC, Standard Chartered of the world, and then they get some BCO, commodity guys. Like one shipment is like 20 million US. Then I want to do letter of credit, then it makes sense. And they try to jump-start network like this. The problem is it's very difficult to convince everyone to come. A lot of people, they say, No, because people are comfortable with paper. And then like paper, I know what happens. Electronic, what if I get hacked? First question, what if I get hacked? What if I click the wrong button? What if this? What if that? It just takes a lot of convincing. And then the other argument was, I'm okay to use it, but my bank is not. I want to use it, but my counterparty is not using it. Because the design of Bolero and all the solution, everyone has to be on the solution.
It's not agnostic.
It's not same as if you have paper, right? You don't have to accept any rulebook or anything. I give you the paper, you're a user. But eBL is you need to log into some interface to do something. You need to accept terms and conditions. Some lawyers say, wait, do this. Are we sure we're fine? Because bill of lading is for 400, 500, 600 years. And there's a lot of precedence of bill of lading, but this eBL, don't know, it's only 1-2 years. But even after 20 years, so during COVID, it took off a little bit, but still wasn't pushing as far. And then I would say, there's two things that changed. One is increasing people say, let's do blockchain. So blockchain get rid of the perception of risk. I actually will argue that you don't say really 100% use blockchain, but for a lot of people, it's like, yeah, blockchain, understand, that makes sense. It's a real use case. The second reason is there's a lot of push from the industry. So the DCSA members in 2023, all the containers say by 2030, 35, 7 years, literally very fast. 7 years will be 100% adoption. And then the bulk carrier, BIMCO, they say 25% by 2025. And then also legal reform. So that electronic bill of lading is recognized by law. So UK government has made that change in 2023. So all this coming together is kind of pushing for this transformation. But still, it's pretty slow. The adoption is very uneven right now.
So is it on track? Would you measure it that way?
I think it's slower. I think it's slower than what I expected, to be honest. I'm an eternal optimist. So I always think, hey, this makes sense to go faster. To some degree, some places faster, some places slower. So in China, the adoption rate is really, really high. It's more than 20%. Outside China, it's more complicated. I think the average the DCSA released by the survey is like 5% adoption rate. And also, it's uneven between the carriers. So I won't name names because I don't want to get into trouble. Right. But some carriers, much higher than some people who actually
I
quite
can
low.
see that.
Yeah.
So that is the dynamic that we're seeing. But it's improving rapidly, I would say.
Okay.
So on our platform right now, just to give you a sense of scale, 2023, there was 0 EBL. So starting January 2023, at the end of 2023, we have 120,000. At the end of 2024, we have 280,000. Okay. So that growth is like 130%, whatever. I think we're probably going to get, so right now at the current run rate, 400,000 is achievable this year. I think it's doable because it's growing this way. The key thing for me is getting more carrier pushing the same platform. Then you have network effect, you start to think. So my goal right now is really to expand, talk to more and more carriers. So right now, which carrier using IQX eBL on GSBN? You have Costco, OOCL, Hapag-Lloyd, ONE, and then we're actually talking to the other big ones. Yeah.
What's that approach like? What's the incentive for them, or what's the reason for a slower adoption?
Sure. So I think there are 3 groups of people I can think of. You have the early adopter for whatever reason. So one carrier, I can non-name name, it's funny because it's driven by the lawyers, which is really, really strange for digitalization project.
I'm not surprised.
And the reason the lawyer wants it is paper, one of his paper,
right.
We have ROI, we have a lot of risk. As opposed to electronic, everything is digital, it's on blockchain. I'm not as scared. All the liability are much clearer. So that's really different way, but that's also for that carrier the power to push it. If the lawyer say you have to do it,
right.
People usually do it. Usually the lawyer the one blocking it saying you shouldn't do it because I don't believe in this thing. So that they are interesting. There's another carrier, I think it's much more at corporate level headquarters. They believe in digitalization and they think this is the first step towards end-to-end digitalization and they want to be the first.
I think this is a great example. This may be a bit controversial, but it's a great example of how our industry doesn't move fast enough. And now we could talk about port automation and where we're at with that or not with that.
We can talk about a lot of things.
It's surprising to me sometimes why things that as simple as an electronic bill of lading, why the adoption rate isn't quicker, faster.
I haven't given you the funniest part of one guy why they're going slow. Okay, so you have so that's the first group, the early adopter. The second group is the people who are like, I want to watch. I want to know which solution works. I want everybody else to feel the pain first. I'll do it when they figure out all the kinks. And to be honest, I don't think it's a bad strategy. If I were a carrier, that's actually a logical, rational thing to do.
Yeah.
Because doing early adopter, you're gonna there's so much pain, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have to watch that, why should you do that? There's some other things you have to deal with. And then there's a third type, which is even weirder for me, which I didn't expect that. Third type is, yes, I'm gonna push for computer adoption, but I want to make money.
Yeah.
So
I think that's
so imagine it's like this. It's like the way they can explain to a customer is I send email. Sorry, let me put it this way. Go back to 1998. All right. So we have Google. You say Google search, so good, so much better than Yahoo. You know what? Because it's so good, I'm gonna charge you $50 because it's so good, because it's a better product. And the EBL is better than paper, so I'm gonna charge you more money. And the customer is like, you know what? I prefer paper.
That's exactly right.
It's just like anything, a return on investment.
Correct.
And the efficiencies
Correct.
that EBL will provide versus paper.
Correct. So it's
change.
It's really interesting to watch the dynamics between the different carriers, and they're all rational. I can understand why they all make those decisions, but that will have an impact on adoption. I remain optimistic in adoption because I think there's another interesting thing that comes from my background in finance. I recognize in the shipping industry, which is are you guys familiar with what's a prisoner's dilemma?
Yes.
For game theory. Right?
Yes.
So prisoner's dilemma is the reason why when the carriers have to cut rates, they all cut and it goes to 0. And when it goes the other way, it goes really fast. So there's really weird dynamics because of prisoner's dilemma. It's very common also in finance, in trading. You need to know what the other traders think because they're going to do the same. And if you do this, they will do this. So it's very, very classic. And I think prisoner's dilemma will do wonder for adoption. Because what's going to happen is once the first leaders start to adopt, and everyone's like, shit, we need to go fast. And then they'd be like, okay, so we let's go.
Yeah.
And then they don't waste as much time to think about it because it's the market standard. You have no choice.
Yeah.
And that's also very weird but interesting dynamic in this industry. So that's why I think the adoption curve, if you will, is quite slow at the beginning. But the inflection point is you just need maybe 2 or 3 big guys to say, you know what, let's go for it. It makes sense, we'll do it. And then everybody would fall in line and do it.
And your goal is 2030. I mean, that's the goal.
Again, I said it. I'm super optimistic. Take huge pinch of salt. I think we get much faster. I think by 2027, we can potentially get more than 50%, more than 60%. And then the remaining, I think there's a long tail, it will take time, but it doesn't matter almost. Because if you go more than 50%, then a lot of new use case that's only possible using eBL, now you can start to work on them. Right now, if it's the global average is only 5%, there's a lot of things you cannot do because people say, hey, it doesn't have scale. We'll do one more research. So we need to hit this. But I think between go to 5 to 50, it can go really fast. After that, the long tail, it will still take time because I think there will be some people they just like, I want to resist. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. So if I'm a BCO, why is that important?
That's a very good question.
How does it really affect my bottom line?
That's a very good question.
That I can then share that cost savings to the end customer.
That's a very good question, and I think that is one problem that
will
as an industry, that's the one problem I think we have as an industry is we're not very good at telling the story from the BCO perspective. Let me explain a bit.
Tell the story.
Yeah. So the story that's been told right now, the commercial story, if you use EBL, it's number one, more efficient, right? It's cheaper and it's good for the environment. So I'll go one by one. So the environment piece, yes, everybody would say it. But if you start to charge me money, you know what? Somebody else can care for the environment. I'm not going to care. And the paper, it's just one paper. Who cares? So that's the first thing. The second thing, efficiency. Yes, paper is not as efficient than electronic, but unless we have another lockdown situation, paper works okay, right? The courier still works. Everything is fine. So it's better, but it's not that better. The cost, yes, it's true, but sometimes it's not completely true either. Because what typically people, especially I've talked to some customers in China, what they do is they bundle everything together. So when you save the money on the courier, is actually they put like 20, 30 BL in one pouch, which is kind of dangerous. If you lose the pouch, you lose 30. Good luck with that. That's really painful. But they're kind of rolling the dice every time. If you look at this way, the ROI is there. You understand it, right? So if there's the disruption, the digitization, you understand conceptually, but it's not. Necessarily don't understand it. So what I think we need to do to go beyond, to go faster, is actually we need to tell a new story. The eBL is not about switching from paper to electronic document because it's too abstract. I don't understand what it means. So I think what we should think about is different. So the concept I like to introduce is, number one is the eBL is just a means to do data exchange. So something that everybody understands today is a container. What's a container, right? 1956, Malcolm McLean invented the container. And why do you have the container?
You're not just a finance guy. You're a supply chain guy.
I did a couple of things by talking to people. I love the books. The box, I think, is really one of the best books. Yeah. I love the books. So I learned a lot by just reading the book. But actually, I'm inspired by the book also because if you read what's the inside the book? Inside the book is the shipping line didn't understand what the business they're in. They were thinking they're the business of selling vessel. They're actually in the business of transporting cargo. Once you understand that, then the container, the intermodal, everything starts to make sense. Now, let's take what does it mean today. I think, so I tried to write a piece, find a catchy, many people understand. Actually, if your audience can read. I think the catch phrase on the use is that moving goods is easy. People may argue differently, but I think it's easier than before. But moving data is really hard. So I want you to imagine what used to be the docker worker, right? Holding bags of flour, put down cargo hold. Today, what they do? They're in office like this. They're doing data entry. They're sending email. They're playing with Excel. They're calling people. That's really what you're doing if you're in international logistics today, right? And the concept is, what if you have a new kind of a data container where everything linked to a shipment can be shared easily and your workflow process is much easier. So I think that's really what the value potential of eBL could be, meaning it's not about the document. It's about sharing data across every stakeholder you're dealing with. Because every single shipment has one bill of lading. But as long as it's paper, you cannot attach anything. But if it's electronic, you can say, I'm going to send to, Kevin send to Kevin. Kevin send to Bertrand, right? Bertrand send to Kevin. And then because it's transited to a system, you can say, Bertrand can see this, but Kevin can see this. And I want to attach some packing lists, commercial invoice, other documents, other data, IoT information, ticket, FITO certificate, certificate of origin, any type of documentation that you need to do industrial trade. So that's the power if you start to do this. And that, I think, it's abstract, but I think it's something that really carries a lot of value potentially. The one thing I think coming back from finance.
Tie that in. I love the way you just described it because I think your adoption rate will exponentially increase based upon that.
Yeah.
And then tie it to the finance.
Yes.
Save me as a BCO.
Yes.
Show me the return on investment, a plus of what you just said, and I think your adoption rate will skyrocket.
Okay, so I want you to again take a step back, right? So what is the really job of a carrier? The image I want you to have is not someone carrying a container, but more is a bearing truck, like you're moving money. Really, that's what carrier is doing, right? So you entrust them with the physical goods, cargo that has value, and it goes to the sea, and then how do you control who gets it is a bit of living. So now imagine this is electronic. On the other leg, what's happening is a financial transaction where you make a payment between the buyer and the seller, and there's exchange of value. Now, if this is electronic and this is electronic, why aren't they the same thing? Meaning the exchange of money and the exchange of title for the cargo happen at the same time. So if you're the buyer or you're the seller, the risk is exchanged at the same time, exact time, and it's absolutely fair. Today, what happens is if you want to make a payment, the money will sit in bank accounts in what we call notional virtual account through SWIFT for a couple of days, where the bank makes the interest rate. They make the float.
So time. So what you're saving is time.
It's not just time. You're saving money. You're saving money.
Well,
It's the value of that money.
Effectively, the payment.
It's the value of the money and time.
Correct. And also risk, because you only transfer the money. So if you're a buyer.
Minimize your risk.
Yeah.
Save time and money.
Exactly. So imagine you're a buyer, right? So potentially you may have to pay earlier. But now you only pay, okay, the ship is basically it's almost ready to release. It's just this thing. So I make the payment, automatic title comes to me, I release it. You don't tie your capital to this SWIFT or scope payment. So why I think this potentially can change, because changing SWIFT and the bank, I think will take some time. It's not that easy. I think, I have to go back to a bit blockchain-y. I think, with the new administration.
Okay, our lights just went off. Sorry. I thought maybe I was passing out or something. Glad to know
Just wait on
our host.
We got still. Yeah.
We didn't say anything wrong.
You're done. I really thought I was passing out now. What did I hear? I know, right?
So I think what's about to happen is you'll have more and more stable coin. Are you guys familiar what stable coin is?
Mm-hmm. Explain it. Yep.
So stable coin, I think, is the only useful thing that comes from crypto. So forget about Bitcoin, forget about Ethereum, forget about Solana, Cardano, and XRP, whatever goes to the current version of the reserve. The most important thing is in actually the act that the US government intend to pass. Is actually you can use that as a ledger to make payments fully backed by USD. So the idea is instantaneous. I can send to you the money. I can program it. Because if those conditions are fulfilled, the money goes. And it's much more, I would say, flexible and better than the current payment rail that exists.
Is that where we're going?
Yes. So if you look at the tech company, one of the most famous one in this region in the US, Stripe. They bought a company called Bridge. And the purpose of Bridge is basically to enable stablecoin payment. Their vision, though, however, is still stablecoin payment for e-commerce. But I think the killer use case with stablecoin is not e-commerce, is not remittance, meaning I pay my family somewhere, people who work in the US send money back to Mexico, whatever. It's actually not this. It's actually for cross-border payment for global trade. And the reason also I'm bullish on that is I think on the other side of the world, in China, we have the opposite thing happen, in the sense that you have now excess of US dollar in China, where they want to also use stablecoin. Because I think they don't really want to buy treasuries anymore. They want to buy gold, but there's not enough gold. So there's more and more US dollar that's sitting in the bank account in Hong Kong, for instance. And that can, to the stable coin, become something else that you can use to trade. So I think this is really I made that prediction in the panel. A lot of people were looking at me, I was like, I'm crazy. But I think that's potentially the thing that can really, really accelerate the adoption. Because for me as a user, as a BCO, I get it. Payment, title at the same time.
100%.
Yep. Okay. Well, that kind of leads me to, I was going to ask you, what do you see in the horizon? The next 3, 4, 5, 10 years.
Okay.
And I think you kind of already answered it a little bit, but what else?
I think really the industry is going to change quite a lot. First up is the trade flows, right? With the tariffs, you can see already that things are changing. We're going to have very different behavior for international trade. I think the technology is going to make a huge difference. I know I'm going to sound again one of those guys who are very crazy at pitching AI, but I have slightly different take that other people say AI, not automation. I'll give you an example, and that's actually really give you insight what's happening right now in China. I'm sure you guys have heard of DeepSeek.
Have it on my phone.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I really do.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Okay. How about you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
So what's happening now in China, which is really mind-boggling, is first off is China is DeepSeek crazy. Every single people try to know DeepSeek and want to use DeepSeek. the big unlock that I see right now in China, which is really interesting and relevant to this industry, is 2 weeks ago was chatting over WeChat, so Tencent WeChat, which is a chatting app for using in China, with some colleagues, some people working in pay some of them. How do you, like, on your phone number, how do you get it? Like, which app do you use? So, oh, it's in WeChat. And I was like, wait, what do you mean it's WeChat? Well, last year, Tencent released an AI app similar to DeepSeek, but then nobody really used it because at that point, everybody thinks OpenAI has the best model. In January this year, everyone in China said DeepSeek is the best model. And on Tencent, which is really, really strange, but I think makes sense, they basically pushed aside their own model and they deployed DeepSeek on WeChat because everybody knows of WeChat. There's such mind share on DeepSeek right now. So what happened today is someone who are involved in logistics in China, on his phone, in WeChat, that he used to communicate with his colleagues, his friends, he has DeepSeek. He can ask DeepSeek questions. So imagine, I want you to take a step back. So are you familiar with Alipay?
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason China switched from normal payment to Alipay is because China never had a credit card. Okay. No credit card penetration, so you switch from using cash to Alipay. That makes sense. You leapfrog one generation of technology, right? I think something similar is happening in China. In China, there's no SaaS solution. Nobody uses Salesforce, HubSpot. None of this exists, right? Today, when you talk to VC here, people say AI is a kill SaaS. But in China, there's no SaaS. So people use email, use Excel, use like really old school way to do things because very simple, people don't want to pay. I think we may about to see something very drastic happening in China. Before the end of 2025, my prediction is you have entire cohort of people who use DeepSeek as part of their job. And instead of saying, I want to book your things, it's DeepSeek. And then behind the scene, you can put any type of API, EDI, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's the interface you're using.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I think this is happening. So that's prediction, gut feel, but I think that's really happening. And the adoption rate I see is really crazy. So it's not like just
That would be fast.
Exactly. Everybody start to use it.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen is, but it's not automation. It's more enablement of people involved in shipping. Suddenly the processing things, but you measure the productivity is going to go like this. So, and I think that's what's happening. And that's what happened in China. So that's my prediction.
That's a whole other episode.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah. So what for GSBN, what are you currently working on today? Is there anything new?
I think eBL is the main focus. Back in trading, one thing you need to know is when do you focus on one, where you put your risk, right? You don't want to spread out to things.
Okay, so it's getting the adoption.
I think it's just getting eBL adoption up and then any type of use case that will help the adoption. So working with banks, stablecoin, any type of thing that will make this go. And then in order to do that, is getting more carry on board. Because the more you have carry, you have to show the carry supports it, the better it is. So I'm working actively to have that. The other people's application builder, application builder, like CargoWise, so that in order for you to use EBL, you don't have to switch solution against data. We're working also with other EBL solution provider. So if someone already uses EBL solution, you don't gotta force them to switch to IQX EBL. How can we bridge that? So we're doing that as well. So the idea long term is if you want to do EBL, the easiest thing to do is call GSBN.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. How can the audience, if they want to learn more, want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
So LinkedIn, my marketing team has been pushing me to write more and also do podcasts. So I was asking a question how you do the camera, the software. But the problem is I'm just too busy, travel too much. Well, I think my marketing is pushing we need to do more content because it's not about telling the story, explaining what we're trying to do. Because a lot of people don't understand what
I think the way that you just did it, really, really
Absolutely.
good. I think now it's just getting that out.
Yes.
Which, we're happy to be a part of that. It definitely is more efficient. It's forward progress.
Yeah, it's much better.
It's taken us out of as great as paper is. There are more efficient ways.
Absolutely.
More importantly, both of us coming from the BCO side of the business, if there can be efficiencies that help save money, then I think those are really important initiatives.
Speed to market for the product.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Speed to market
absolutely.
for the product.
Because I don't believe, so the reason I was saying AI was a bit slightly dismissive, right? So all the AGI, I don't really believe in that. My background is in applied mathematics. I know the guts of it. I know what's real, what's not real. The thing also that I don't think is real is all the prediction the AI is going to tell you how many demand for the content. I think it's not as easy, the planning, but the workflow automation DeepSeek, I think that's absolutely real.
That's awesome.
The way you're going to handle the workflow is going to be very different.
I think I just dabbled into DeepSeek, not knowing what the full capabilities are going to be. And the way you described it makes me think of multiple other ways that it can be used. It likely will be used. And it does. It helps us all be more efficient.
It's going to be awesome, right?
The people that know how to use it
Absolutely.
are the ones. And that's what I keep trying to, as I talk to clients, as I talk to other people, knowing how to use it, knowing when to use it.
Absolutely. I think
is the critical piece. Is it going to get rid of, or is it replacing by people? It is knowing how to use it.
I think again, huge pinch of salt, take a huge pinch of salt. I'm an optimist. That's what my team tells me all the time. I think currently there's a crisis to get people involved in logistics. It sounds boring. You don't have manual work. Why should I want to be in tech, want to be a YouTuber, all this, that sounds cool. This is boring.
You can do it all.
Exactly. But I think really if you use DeepSeek, use this kind of thing, what happens, you have this force multiplier where you spend more time thinking about how do I solve the problem? How do I solve the real problem? And don't waste time on dealing with the mundane stuff that today you spend 80% on, you spend less than 20% thinking about the important things. This will help you solve that. That is actually, I think, the unlock. And you can attract much more people who are interested in solving. Logistics for me is solving hard problems. The hard problem shouldn't be about moving data from Excel to email and copy paste and going to a website. That shouldn't be a hard problem.
Well, listen, Bertrand, this has been really, really good. I know the audience is going to love this information. Thanks for the work that you're doing. Thanks for taking time with us. Enjoy the rest of TPM. Go and network some more and get some rest as well.
Yes, I will.
Well, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Bertrand. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. If today's discussion inspired you, don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, and share our podcast.
Remember, every great journey in logistics starts with a single step forward. Let's continue working together to transform the industry.